Podcast City Network. The Everett Lee Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Everett Lee Show. I'm the Everett Lee. I want to give a shout out to everyone who follows me on social media: Facebook, Everett Lee Show; Twitter, at the Everett _Lee; Instagram, Everett Lee; YouTube, Everett Lee; and of course, Podcast City Network, your top source for independent podcasting. Be creative, be yourself. PodcastCity.net, Facebook, Podcast City Network; Twitter, at Podcast City Net. And all the information will be in the description of this episode when it gets published. So everything I talk about with my guest tonight, be sure to check out the description of this episode. And let's get on with my guest. He's in the waiting room right now. It's been almost probably a year since I last talked to my guest. He came on to promote the return of Theater of Terror, and he's back with some more updates and news on that. I'm happy and excited to welcome back onto the Everett Lee Show none other than Thomas Ryan. What's up, man?
Hey, Everett. How you doing, man? Great to see you.
It's good to see you
again.
Yeah. It's been forever. We were talking there just briefly. It's been almost like around the pandemic 2020. Towards the end of that was the last time I talked to you.
Yeah, since we released Soothsayer, or at least since we were done, and we kind of shared that sneak preview and discussion on that first film of the anthology. Yeah, been a while, man. I'm glad to be back on and glad to kind of be on the other end of this right now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I remember watching that, man. You gave me and Ripper Blackheart. I had him on early preview of the next installment of the Theater of Terror, and man, it just seems like it gets you raise the bar on yourself each time when you come out with something new like this.
Thank you. I mean, yeah, that's kind of part of the mission, to get better at what we're doing, and for that to be noticeable to our audience. Yeah, man, we work hard on these films, and I appreciate that you take notice that our work is improving, and I think it is too. And we're all getting better at this slowly but surely, and we're having a great time doing it.
Oh yeah. It seems like you're having a lot of fun with getting all the next installment of the Theater of Terror together, because I watched the first anthology, and I told you, and you laughed about it, because it's serious. It gave me chills. It creeped me the hell out, man. It did.
That's awesome. I love to hear that, because that's what we're about too, is the chills. I saw somebody post a great meme on social media the other day. It was a kind of picture of all the Universal monster movies, Frankenstein and Wolfman and Dracula, and it said, no gore, no nudity, just chills and atmosphere. And it kind of reminds me of like what we do. Don't get me wrong, I love a good gore flick like anybody else that loves horror. But what we try to do is very heavy on atmosphere and chills, and the fact that it gave you the creeps and the chills is great, because that's what we're trying to do. And with this new anthology, I think we've got a lot of that in this as well. That's going to really creep you out.
Yeah. I mean, Soothsayer. I mean, that right there. Am I saying that pronounced right? Soothsayer. Soothsayer. Okay.
Soothsayer, right.
I can never pronounce stuff right at the time. That was a pretty good short story. I mean, we talked about it last time. It had to do with a guy trying to change the past, and things didn't work out too well for him.
Well, it's actually a guy that tries to change the future.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yes, because he travels. Our lead, Anthony Grasso, plays Dr. Rod Serling, appropriately named after the inspiration of the film, which was Rod Serling. His name was Robert Serling. I'm sorry, Dr. Robert Serling. And he travels. He demonstrates this time machine that he's created. He demonstrates it for a colleague of his, and he sees a glimpse of the future that terrifies him, and he tries to prevent it. And that's basically the summary of the plot of the film. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. That was a throwback to like the old Universal monster movies or those classic black and white 1950s science fiction films. Um, and that one was a lot of fun for us because we got to do time travel. Man, it's something I love. A story I love. Back to the Future, The Time Machine. So many different flicks that revolve around time travel. Terminator. I love those stories. So that was fun for us to get to do that.
Yeah, it was done and it was shot beautifully. I liked how you kept it almost Twilight Zone type because that's what it reminded me of, like when we talked about it last time I talked to you. But it just how it was shot and how it was put together was just brilliant. And just to reminisce on that, you shot that up there in New Jersey, up there where you live up there, correct?
Yeah, we shot that in Bloomfield College and in Kipps Castle, respectively in Bloomfield and in Verona, New Jersey. Great locations, just great backdrops for that period piece. That kind of cathedral look. Of course, Kipps Castle is a castle, and it's awesome interiors and windows and the beautiful rooms and furniture. The place was furnished and everything. So that was a great pleasure for us to shoot in those two locations. Yeah, all local Jersey stuff.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rest of it, you've put out some stuff. I've seen the trailers of the two other films that's going along with the Soothsayer in the Return
Mhm.
of Theater of Terror. I checked out Splinter.
Yeah,
Man,
man.
I, that's creeping me out right there. Just what's happening with that.
Yeah. Splinter's going to be a great one. We're premiering the world premiere for Splinter is going to be at the Garden State Film Festival on Wednesday, uh, March 23rd in the Cranford Theater in Cranford, New Jersey. So we're psyched about that. We're having the premiere there with a block of some other great shorts. But yeah, Splinter is kind of our I don't want to give away too much, but we're heavy on our prosthetics and our special effects in Splinter. Great job by Mike Scardillo and Beatrice Sniper, two people that we've worked with on quite a few other projects. Great effects artists with Theater of Terror. Um, and this one follows our lead, Jim Thalman, and he's a fellow that's moving his family back into his childhood home, which he inherits from his estranged mother, who has
Okay.
just recently passed away. And when he gets there and moves his family in, he winds up getting a splinter in his foot. And from this incident leads the kind of research and discovery of his family's history, his family's past, the history of the town. Um, so it's a great thriller, suspense, horror flick. Krista Miri also stars, Quincy Sade, Joe Amarino, Andrew Hunsicker, Tom Martin. We have a great lineup of local independent actors, as we always love to work with. Super talented people. Again, shooting in Bloomfield, also in Westfield, New Jersey. So again, we're at some local places that community that helps support our projects. And that is a wild one, man. It's got, like I said, it's got great effects. It's a real trip. The story is originally written by Todd Staruch, right, our buddy producer at Theater of
Yeah.
Terror.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
about
so
to ask you about that. Is this the one? This is the one he wrote.
yeah, so he wrote
Yeah.
it, and he showed it to me, I'll make a long story short. Todd wanted to make this kind of his debut directing film, and we started talking about. He showed me the story. I said, "I really like the story, man." I said, "It sounds like it's going to need a pretty decent budget behind it." And he's like, you know what?" He says, "I just want to make a film, man. I'll see how it turns out if people don't like it." And I said, "I'll be honest with you. I really like the story, and I don't think you should just kind of." Try to do it super low budget. I said, let us try to do this as a Theater of Terror production. We have more resources behind us. We did an Indiegogo campaign for it. We raised some good money for it, and we were able to really do it justice and what the story deserved. And in the end, Todd was really happy with the way the film turned out. And it was just a great thing for me to be able to bring that story to life in a way that I think it deserved to be seen. It's once you see the story, you'll know what I mean. It's the kind of film that you don't want to kind of skimp on. And of course, I wish we had even more money to make it, even bigger. But no, it's a great story with some wonderful actors, some awesome locations, fantastic special effects. I'm very excited about this entry in the anthology, and I think you're going to love it. It's actually a little longer than the other stories where we always ran about 20 minutes. This one is 55 minutes.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that is long though. But from the trailer, just seeing I laugh. He's like, oh, I stepped on a splinter and it's killing me. And then all of a sudden it flashes to a scene where he's like, and it's like, whoa, what's happening here? And then
It's a trip, man.
just the effects. He pulls up his shirt and there's like these lines going up. It's like
Yeah.
it's almost like he's getting blood poisoning from what I gather from it. It's like something, he stepped on a splinter and it's doing something to him. And then his wife at the end, when the screen goes black, you hear her screaming in terror. It's like, oh shoot, man, something this is gonna turn out something bad.
Yes. You got all the right signals.
Yeah, I like when I watched Theater Terror, the first anthology, the story with the bookworm, that creeped me the hell out, man. So I'm thinking that right here with this here, because it goes along the lines there with body transformation.
I love it. Great. Yeah, man. It's we've definitely been known to explore that topic, and you just have to watch the film to see.
now at the time of this, because when I did last speak with you, it was during the pandemic, and you had Soothsayer wrapped up. Now, were you already in production with this before the pandemic, or were you able to finish this afterwards?
No, we did this during the pandemic, and I'm very close communication with all the cast and the crew as it was going on, and after Soothsayer was done, and we started pre-production on Splinter, it took a little while to get the pre-production done, and we kind of came to a point where I think at that point numbers were kind of going down. It wasn't at the end; it was like around the middle when that happened. The numbers started going down, and we just all really wanted to work, and we wanted to get the film done. And so we were we were all responsible adults, and we just communicated. We were very honest with each other, and we decided, let's move ahead with the production. And we coordinated everything as safely as we could. And we went ahead and we made the movie. And it was a successful outing, and I'm glad that we did it. We could have lost a lot of time if we let the pandemic really kind of dictate what we were going to do with this anthology. So, luckily for us, it was an incident-free shoot. We got the film done. Everybody was really excited how quickly we turned it around, and we got a cast and crew screening, and everybody loved it. So, it was what you would think would be really challenging. It was we actually, we've been through worse, I almost want to say, as an indie film production company. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, we navigated this pretty good.
Nice. That's amazing. I love that. And recently you just put out the trailer for Robot, which is the Act 3 for, you put on there. I'm looking on the Theater Terror Facebook page. If you go to facebook.com/theater terror, I'm looking at the post here, and please enjoy the official trailer for Robot Act 3 of Return to the Theater of Terror. That trailer looked pretty good. I mean, like, from what I gather from the trailer, something a UFO crashes next to out in the woods. Kind of reminds me almost like a little bit of like what we saw in the first story, with the one story from the first anthology, but this one is a little bit different. So I like this. And the boy sees something happen, and then all of a sudden you get the Men in Black knocking on his front door, asking his mother if we can, speak to him, speak to Jack, and it's like, how do you know my son? And then all of a sudden it's like they're hunting for something. He's seen something. He got something from the spaceship, and then towards the end there, you see him holding a robot and stuff, and you could see it from the robot's eyes. I thought that was cool. I was like, whoa, man. I was like, don't kill the kid. Please don't kill the kid. I was like, I don't want to see a kid get killed. It's like something bad happened. But I noticed in the credits, your son. This is your son, right?
Yeah, it's my son Jack. Yeah. I wrote Robot, and I don't want to say I wrote it with Jack in mind, but I think it wasn't soon after I was writing it that I started thinking about him for the part.
Uh-huh.
He's Jack is a natural, and for a while during COVID, I was shooting. There was one friend that he was hanging out with that was our friend's son, and Jack's best friend. His name is Cody, and they're best friends. And early on in the lockdown, we're like, all right, we got to get these boys together. Like, this is, we got to get. They need to be together,
right?
Hang out and socialize. And so they started coming over the house. And with not a lot to do, they actually came to me one day and said, we want to make a short little movie. And so they told me about it, and that's when we did Frights at the Fridge. And this is all part of what's called the Chilling Childhood Adventures of Jack and Cody. It's what it led to. I actually started shooting on an iPhone and shot a series of micro shorts with these two boys on what I like to call experiencing like the fun side of horror.
Yeah.
And I have friends that have kids that they show this to, and that they say their kids thoroughly enjoy it, and it's kind of a fun way to introduce them to scary stuff without leaving them with nightmares. So we started making those, and I kind of saw that Jack was ready when we did those, that he was ready for a bigger role. Right. He's great in this film, and it's wonderful to be able to share that experience with my 10-year-old boy. It's great.
That is amazing. That is, because when I saw the credits come up of the cast, and I seen his name, I was like, that's Tom's son. I was like, wow. I was like, he's his big screen debut. I mean, this is great. And I remember seeing the footage and stuff that you shot with him and his friend running around and stuff and doing things. That was fun, because it was like, during that time, there was not too much going on, and it was great. You pretty much captured moments there, which is great.
For sure.
Yeah.
Especially when you watch the series from beginning to end, you can actually see the physical change in the kids as they, in that time span, how much older they got in those 2 years. So it's, man, it's crazy. It's crazy. Time flies when you're having fun, I guess, right?
Oh yeah. It definitely is. I mean, my daughter, she just turned 5 at the end of last month.
Wow.
5 years old. Wow.
Great age.
Yeah.
Enjoy it while you can, because it just, my wife and I were just reviewing like old videos of our kids when they were babies and 2 years old and 3 years old. And, gosh, it just seems like, how did we get here so quick? My daughter's 13 now. Jack is 10. And it goes by very, very quickly. It's great that we could be able to save some of those memories on video. And, I mean, when I was a kid, I think I only have like, Polaroids of me, or little slides and stuff. So it's great that we've come so far and we get to record that stuff. It's awesome.
It is. I believe I have a photo album. I have a photo album with me as like baby pictures, and when I was a kid. I think the oldest picture I have is when I'm like 19, and then I got videos, VHS tapes of my mom gave to me when I was 16. I played them one night for my wife, and she's like, "That's you?" It's like, "Yeah, that was me when I was 16." It's like, "You had hair." Like, "Yeah, I had hair when I was 16." She's like, "Flannels, blue jeans, Converse." I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, "Hey, it was the 90s, man."
Right. That's it, man. No apologies, man. No apologies necessary.
No, man. No. I was like, if you really want to see something, you should have seen what I wore when I was a kid in the 80s, man. I was like, I was like, I could walk outside at night and I could become a traffic cone.
Yeah.
With all the neon stuff and all that stuff back in the day. But yeah, she was amazed by it. And my mom, she captured a lot of moments that I didn't get to catch when she passed away back in September. I was able, my brother gave me her phone, and I have it, but I've not been able to like get on there because my mom one time showed me when she was alive, she showed me all the stuff that she has on my daughter. She's captured when she would watch her. And I haven't got to the point yet to go on my mom's phone and actually retrieve that footage yet. I'm not ready yet, but I will, because I have a lot of footage right here on my computer and stuff. And I remembered the other day, my wife shared it on her Facebook when my daughter was taking her first steps. It's like,
it's great.
Great. She just
love it.
took off and ran, man.
Get me out of here.
Yeah, she did. She picked up a toy and threw it back, almost hit my mom, and took off running, and then she fell. And then from there on, man, she runs around all over the place. She runs all over the place. It was funny tonight. I got told by a 7-year-old that I should let my daughter come out and play when it was almost dark. I got schooled by a 7-year-old. Her friends came over when we were eating, and they knocked on the door and asked if she'd come out. And I was like, no, it's getting late. She's going to eat, and then she's going to be, going to bed soon. And she's looking in and she's like, oh, she's not eating that much. I think she should come out and play. She should be able to come out and play. I'm like, that's not your decision to make. That's my decision to make. Get your ass home. It's like, it's like kids say the darndest things, man. That shocked me, man. That shocked me tonight. You told a 7-year-old, you need to let her play. I was like, the hell, I'm not.
That's it, man. You're officially the old man now.
I am. I am.
Right.
I'm that mean old man that lives across the street now.
That's right. Kids got to tell you off once in a while.
Yeah. I haven't got to the point where I'm that one yelling and get off my lawn.
Soon, my friend.
Wow. But just with the theater terror, with the films, you only have how many do you have in this one? Because we only seen like four films. Is that all you're gonna have for this one? For this?
Yeah. There's gonna be 4 for this one as well. So we're 3 in right now. We have the last one we're doing is Haunted.
Yes.
And that's kind of about a paranormal investigator by the name of Carl McGavin, being played by the lead is Brett Eidman. We're going to have an actress named Jen Plotsky, Gareth Tidball. It's going to be a nice little lineup, nice tight little story. It's going to be our first kind of ghost story. So, that's going to be a lot of fun. Working with effects artist Mike Scardillo again. Right now we're doing a lot of pre-production location scouting. We're still casting for a couple of parts in the film. But that one's the next to go. I think we're going to launch an Indiegogo pretty soon for that.
Okay.
Because when we originally launched our first Indiegogo for Return to the Theater of Terror, we raised somewhere around 65% of the total that we were trying to get. So at this point, we're going to try to raise the balance of that to get the last film done and hopefully the wraparound story too. So Haunted would be the last story. And then hopefully we can get the wraparound going as well. It'd be great. But if we can't, then just similar to the first anthology, if we've got 4 brand new films and stories, we could just package it that way as well, So we're going to see what we could do. But I think doing the wraparound would be very cool because we're going to kind of get a little bit deeper into that story with Colin, the character that I played in the first one that's in the theater and kind of inhabits the theater.
Yeah.
So we're going to go a little bit more into who he is and about that place, and revisit that a little bit. But that's the hope. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, that the way you ended that right there with it, the ending and connecting with that last story, that it just, and just the way it just ended, is you wanted to see what was going to happen. And
Yeah.
I liked how you executed that right there, because that last story was, it gave me chills, dude. It did. That last story with the werewolves.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. That right there. And I didn't realize, I was like, oh, that's her. And she's, what the
Yeah.
heck's going on? And
Yeah.
then just the reaction at the end, I'm like, dude, what the hell's going to happen now? And then when you announced Return to Theater of Terror, I'm like, okay. I was like, hopefully it kind of picks up like where, I'm hoping it does. It picks up kind of like right there, and it leads into the second act. You would would that be wrong for calling that like the second part of Theater of Terror to be like the second act, the big
Well,
second act?
it's almost it's going to be a different show.
Okay.
So I wouldn't call it the second act, but I mean, within the Theater of Terror, we have our act 1 through 4, and that kind of happens in each film. But it will take place in a theater, and it will follow the events of the first film. But how that plays out, I'll kind of leave that up in the air right now.
Okay. Okay. I was
Yeah,
fishing.
I know it.
I
I
was
know it.
I was fishing right there. I definitely
Yeah,
was
we'll get
fishing.
some good stuff planned. We got some really interesting stuff planned. So you know,
got some people in the Podbean live stream chat right now.
let's see, the usual suspects.
Got I'm probably pronouncing this wrong. Hello. I can't see Malik. I got to bring up the font a little bit closer, but he's in the chat listening right now. He's listening. Mister, hello. He's listening too, and there's quite a bit of people listening in tonight, and
Cool.
I do want to thank everyone jumping in here and listening with my conversation with indie filmmaker Thomas Ryan, talking about the Return to Theater of Terror. And you're talking about the casting call. I'm gonna throw this up right here on the screen here with you, since you're talking about the casting call. I like this right here, throwing out the casting call right here of who you're looking for. This is for, because I'm on the website Theater of Terror, and it says right there at the front of the page, pre-production right now, but you are doing the casting call for Haunted right there. It says.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. We've gotten some wonderful submissions so far, and we welcome any more that would like to submit in the coming weeks for sure.
That's nice. I like it. I'm reading the roles right there. Female role, Miss Olsen, age 60 and up, all races. Welcome to apply. So that's good. You got some submissions, man. That's. Does it seem kind of hard sometimes? It's like when you're going through, it's like because you're looking for that certain character to be like, that's who I'm looking for, and you pretty much, that's process of elimination for you, correct?
Yeah, sometimes it's a look, or sometimes it's a behavior that helps me cast someone. So there's, of course, there's a certain mold that I'm looking for, that the character needs to fit. Sometimes that's more defined, and sometimes it's more loosely defined. Um, uh, but yeah, there's I guess there's little tells when you want to cast somebody. There's things that you see. I guess it's almost like you might be when you're attracted to someone, and whatever it is about them kind of, clicks something in your head. I think casting works exactly that way. Like, you're watching them read your lines or your script, and you see that character in your head, and either they are that character or they're not. So yeah, yeah. There's a couple of interesting techniques I like to use when I cast, but I think we've been extremely lucky and extremely blessed with an abundance of excellent local independent film talents that have brought our films to the next level. And I appreciate and I thank each and every one of those people, and they know it. They know it. I love them because they just take our films to another level, and I think that helps right when you're watching an independent film, to forget about how little money was spent on the film. You try to focus on the amazing things that those amazing things make you forget those, lower budgets. So yeah,
Right.
thank goodness for all of them. So yeah, we've been lucky.
That's good. That's good. I enjoy the cast that you get together for the Theater of Terror. And was it Todd? He played a small role in the werewolf story, if I remember.
Yeah.
Is there any chance we may see Todd pop up in a different role in a little cameo in one of these films?
Todd is dead in this movies. That's it. All of our films exist in the same universe, and Todd is dead.
Okay.
Sorry, Todd.
No coming back, Todd. No coming back. But take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll dive more into the conversation right here. But first, there's a couple things I do want to mention. Keep up with the latest shows and content from Podcast City Network over on podcastcity.net. Follow them on facebook.com/Podcast City Network, Twitter @PodcastCityNet. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Podcast City Network, on Twitch, Podcast City Network. Podcast City Network, your top source for independent podcasting. Be creative, be yourself. Whether it's a sticker for your car, a t-shirt for that special someone, or a neck garter to keep safe during COVID-19, Podcast City Network has you covered. Grab the latest PCN gear today at podcastcity.net/shop to show your support for your favorite show or shows from Podcast City Network today. Want to start a podcast trying to grow your current show? Podcast City Network is here to help. We currently offer services for social media advertising, marketing, live stream hosting, custom logo design and branding, transcript services, custom intro and outro videos, audio video editing, press kits, one-on-one consultants, and much more. So don't wait. Contact us today. podcastcity.net/services. Head over to the website, fill out the form, get in contact with Podcast City Network. Have you ever wanted to start a podcast but didn't know how? Do you already have a podcast but you don't know how to grow it? Are you trying to find ways to make your podcast profitable? You can learn how to do it here at Podcast City Network. We offer consultant services, tutorial classes to help with learning to better expand your knowledge to grow your show. We also give access to our network of shows to help with cross promotions, guests, and overall reach while becoming a part of our ever-expanding PCN community based on people helping people. The best part is no membership fee. So what are you waiting for? Fill out the contact form below right here over on podcastcity.net/join now and sign up today. Podcast City Network, your top source for independent podcasting. Be creative, be yourself.
You're listening to The Everett Lee Show.
Ask you about this. You put a post out there a while back ago, and you mentioned it in the last short film on the Theater of Terror, where they had like a news flash thing at the bottom, and it referred to the character from Faces, and you put a post out there. Yeah, he's still on the loose. I love that. I loved reading that. I was dying laughing when I saw that. I'm like, this is great, man. Him acknowledge, it's like the same universe,
Yeah, it all is. It really is. It all works in, and a lot of the films have Easter eggs that kind of lend to other films. And then I like to connect those to the original works. And I've done it as well with Day 9, the zombie outbreak, in some films.
Yeah.
In Faces actually has a small glimpse of the newscast from day 9 taking place in Faces. So technically speaking, that zombie apocalypse happened while Frank was on his murder spree. So it was all kind of happening at the same time. Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that, or I must have forgot about that. That is cool. That is cool.
Yeah.
But you did put a post out there. You said you asked everyone, should I do a sequel, for Faces and see where Frank is at? And I was like, yeah, I'd like to see that, man, because there's so many directions you can go with that character after what happened at the end of the movie there. I mean, you could do so much and go so
Yeah.
many directions. What have you had any ideas that pop in your head that you're possibly been playing with?
I have, and I have thought about it, and yeah, there's ideas, and there's kind of a sequel story that's popping around in my head. Um, the funny thing with Frank and Faces is I love the movie. I love the whole concept that we had, and just the way that we delivered it, and the energy and the effort that everybody put forth to get that film done. Just some great memories and such great characters. And I had such a great time working with my buddy Paul Committer, who plays Charlie, right? Is his friend in the wall. And it's one of those things where I feel like it that story absolutely does not need a sequel. Um, and at the same time, doing a sequel would be extremely uh, enjoyable for me to continue what we did at a higher level,
Mm-hmm.
because Faces is one of my favorite things that we've done, and I can only imagine what we'd be able to do with something like that today. And so I think it would be fun to revisit it, just to kind of see what we can do with that story and the evolution of the characters, or at least whatever characters are going to continue into the sequel. And I would love to do it, but it's I don't know that it would be a priority for me, because I don't feel it needs to be done. I just
Right.
feel that it would be a lot of fun, but I don't think it needs to be done. And that along with a sequel to Faces, there are a lot of other ideas that are bouncing around in my head. And I guess you have to figure out which one is going to win out, and which one is going to really rise to the top there. And so that time will tell that, because right now, again, I am just consumed by Return to the Theater of Terror. I want to finish up another great anthology, and we're 3 films into doing that, with 2 more little things to shoot to kind of wrap that up. And well, not little, but 2 things to shoot until we wrap that up. But yeah, so right now, that's kind of where the focus is at.
Amazing. I love it, man. I love it. And talking about movies, between working on Return to Theater Terror, have you seen anything lately? Anything new?
So the Batman.
Oh, did you? How?
I knew we were going to talk about this too, so I'm ready.
I've heard a lot of people, they love it. I have 2 comic book friends that are big in the comic books. One of them said he absolutely loved it. He thought it was great. He loved everything there was with how Robert Patterson executed the Batman, and made it more. This was more of a detective story from like Batman, of like with the comics of him being a detective. But then I had my other friend who was like, "Oh, absolute garbage! I couldn't stand it." Robert Patterson was good as Batman, but he sucked at Bruce Wayne. And I'm like, I hear a lot of that. One person likes it, this one don't like it. This likes it, back and forth and stuff. Where are you at on this?
So I went to the fan screening, which was like a day, or like I think it was a Tuesday
Mm-hmm.
that we went to go see it. Um, I went with my buddy Lou Libetz, cinematographer, got me the tickets. Shout out to Lou, thanks, buddy. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was very good. I'm very careful about when I start screaming for Oscars for people, and calling movies a masterpiece.
Yeah.
I'm very, when it comes to throwing those terms around, I'm very frugal. I don't like to use those. I don't want to say everything is brilliant, you know, It is a very well-made movie. The acting is good. Robert Pattinson is good. All the actors are very good in the movie. Um, I love that Commissioner Gordon is a larger part of the movie. I
Right.
love that he's I love that it seems the police department is so much more involved in things as opposed to when you see a lot of other movies, it seems like it's just Batman is like the only thing in town stopping anything. You know what I mean? Once in a while, a cop would run out, but this movie seems a little bit more realistic in terms of Batman's interactions with law enforcement. I really appreciated that. I do like that it was more of a detective movie. It was like a thriller, like a suspense crime thriller. I like that. Um, I liked everything about it. 3 hours felt a little long, and I don't want people to misinterpret that. I was never sitting there like, oh, come on, wrap this up already. But 3 hours is a long time, to sit in a movie.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and I know, like it seemed like it probably could have been about 2.5, and it felt like there was a couple of things that were in there because they wanted to make a certain point about something
Yeah.
or show the audience a certain thing. And I get it. I especially get it when someone mentioned, well, this is the director's cut. Like you're not going to get a director's cut. This is it.
Right.
And that's why it's 3 hours. Right. So like a studio version might have been 2 hours.
Yeah.
Right. But they're
Yeah.
like this, they put out the director's cut of this film, which I could totally appreciate. And again, it didn't seem like it was too long.
Right.
It just felt, I mean, 3 hours it just feels a little bit long. Um, and for a Batman movie too.
Yeah.
I mean, um, Avengers Endgame I think was close to 3 hours. I think right. It was like
Y-
two and a half or 2:45 or something like that.
Yeah, it was about
But
2:45, and if I remember, the Dark Knight Rises was about almost about 2:45, somewhere 2:30
really,
in there.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So, but again, that wasn't a big deal. The one thing I feel in this film that I could say, and I'll tell you a list that I came up with after this, but I don't feel like this necessarily brought anything new to Batman on screen.
hmm
Because while this was more heavy on the detective side of it, the other Batman movies did have some detective work in it as well. Not to the extent that this one did,
right.
but like the Christian Bale's one definitely did, and Michael Keaton, had some as well. But uh, I just don't feel that this film did anything new, and not that it had to.
hmm
But I guess what I'm saying is every time we saw another incarnation of Batman, right? First, when we saw Michael Keaton's Batman, we were like, "Oh wow, this is really cool! Like this is a new way." The last thing that we'd all seen was Adam West, basically, and the cartoons, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so Michael Keaton comes along, and they got Tim Burton's kind of cool, dark, gothic Gotham was cool.
yeah.
And then when Christian Bale came, it was a lot closer to this version, right?
Uh-huh.
The Christopher Nolan films was a lot closer to this Matt Reeves version,
Yeah.
and very dark stuff, but a lot of like detective work, and especially with the Joker and such, right?
hmm
But this film is very heavy on it, and it's very cool about the way they do it in this film. I like it a lot. With Gordon standing around a Batman and they're kind of bouncing back and forth with dialogue. I enjoy that very much. I like that because it's very reminiscent of the comics that I read and grew up
Nice.
reading. But I don't know if there was anything like new. Like, what can you do with the Batmobile anymore? Right now, the
Right.
Batmobile was very cool in this film, right? But it's not like like the thing keeps evolving to the point where what are you going to make it? You know what I mean? It's like okay, we got to go backwards now, and I kind of felt like that's what they did with the Batmobile. They made it a little bit more Mad Max,
Yeah.
which I appreciate. I think it's cool too. That was very cool.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, up and down, I like the film. I like the film, and I would recommend someone going to see it for sure. And I think I could go see it in the theater a second time, knowing now that I've seen it already and I could get up and go pee in the middle of that 3 hours. I'll feel a lot more like this time I was just there, like I can't move for 3 hours. It was
Right.
tough, especially at my age. But yeah, that was I enjoyed it a lot, man. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen it yet. I've been trying to
Okay.
get trying to get someone to go with me to see it that wants to see it, because people I expect to go see it. Nah, I'm busy. I got this going on, but I do want to see it because I want to see what Robert Patterson does, because I like each version of Batman that's come
Hmm.
out, because they made it their own. It's just something different. Like Michael Keaton, how his movement was when he was Batman, and him being Bruce Wayne, his mannerisms, just how he moved about, and then how Christian Bale took it and how he moved about being Batman, and when he was Bruce Wayne, just
Yeah.
seeing how the interaction of a day and night for that person, and
Yeah.
then was it Ben Affleck, seeing how he handled it, because he was the last
Sure.
person that had it before Robert Patterson. And
So here's my list now that you've just introduced that. Here's my list.
okay,
Um, Best Bruce Wayne for me is a tie between Michael Keaton and actually, I just think it's Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton,
I think he's just my best Bruce Wayne. I think he's my best Bruce Wayne.
yeah,
Um, my best Batman, which is just Batman suited up doing dialogue, I think is a tie between Michael Keaton and Robert Pattinson. I
oh
really
okay,
do. I think he was a very good Batman suited up and just talking.
right,
Um, and then I have my best Batman fight scenes, which I'm going to give to Ben Affleck. And I think those were the most amazing Batman action sequences that were done in those Zack Snyder films were freaking amazing.
yeah,
And I think the brutality and the strength and the coordination, the athleticism, everything that they just got across in his Batman was awesome. So I really enjoyed that. So I think that's how my lineup would go if I was to say these are my favorite, actors doing these parts. I think that's how it would go, because that's another thing in this new Batman. The fight scenes were very good, but they were very similar to kind of like the Nolan fight scenes, the way they were shot.
okay,
Um, you know, and while Zack Snyder's were shot a lot, his action sequences are a lot more fluid and yeah, there's just a big difference in those fight sequences. And there's nothing wrong with the new ones in this new Batman film, but it's just a different style. And stylistically, I just like what Zack Snyder does a lot more with that stuff.
nice,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, but
I
cool.
like it.
It was a great movie, man. I like it a lot. I mean, but
Yeah,
I've liked all the Batman movies.
I
There's an
know.
exception. Like there was a few that I wasn't crazy about. Batman, I think it was Batman and Robin, right? With Schwarzenegger.
Mm.
No, it was with Two Face,
Yeah,
Tommy
that
Lee Jones,
Batman
and the
Forever.
Riddler.
Yeah,
Batman Forever,
yeah,
and
and then
yeah,
Batman and
that
Robin.
yeah, yeah. It's a shame, but and
Hmm.
it's funny because I like Jim Carrey and I like Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah,
I don't think I liked that. I think that was Joel Schumacher, right? That he
yeah,
was directing those films.
yeah. He did the last.
I didn't like that. I think it went a little too. It was like I was watching the '60s show all over the '60s version all over again. I was just waiting to see like bam and pow on the screen when punches were thrown.
Yeah, yeah. That's pretty much how it went, and I was glad the Christopher Nolan version came in, because it's just like, we need to hit the reset button on this, and I'm
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
glad they did, because it gave a different take, because I don't think if Noel would have did what he did, we would probably would have that type of Batman movie, you know. And I was glad he did, because I was talking to someone the other day. They're like, "Yeah, Dark Knight is my favorite out of that trilogy." It was like I didn't care too much about Batman Begins, and I was like, I like Batman Begins because
me too.
you had Ra's al Ghul, because
Yeah,
that right there was, he's just a cunning villain, and
yeah,
you get to see like an origin, because you never really got to see an origin story of how Batman became Batman. I mean, especially with the Keaton movies, you didn't see
right,
that. You saw the flashbacks of him seeing his parents getting killed, but
right,
Noel explored like this is Batman year one. This is what's happening. And just, you get to see
Right.
that training. And
Batman Begins kind of explained why Batman was very hard to defeat in a fight. And he wasn't just an angry millionaire that learned how to fight like in a boxing ring.
right.
The guy learned with these like international assassins, like this league of assassins, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So absolutely, what was a cool. I love to see Ra's al Ghul. I love the character. I loved him in the comics. I forgot what issue it was, but I had this awesome picture of him like rising out of the pit.
Oh,
What was that
yeah.
pit? The pit
Lazarus
called? I
Pit.
forget the name.
Lazarus Pit. The
Lazarus Pit.
Lazarus
Yes.
Pit. Yeah.
And he's coming out, and it's like it was all green, and it's like dripping off of him. And he's like, and it's like I've spent 1,000 years, whatever the narration was. But
Right.
I love that they brought the character. Liam Neeson is awesome, so
He's
I love
great.
seeing him. Yeah, I love
He's
seeing
great.
him. So I agree with you 100%. Batman Begins was kick-ass. Dark Knight was great too,
Yeah.
and I even like the one with what
Bane.
was the third one? Dark Knight Rises with Bane. Yeah, I mean I like the character
Tom
of Bane.
Hardy.
It was a much different take on him, like the whole intelligent, aspect of him, and
More
was very different.
realistic.
Yeah,
That's what I liked about that. It was more realistic with the characters. I mean, I did like Dark Knight Rises because it kind of wrapped around the trilogy wrapped itself around, because it had the applied with what happened in the first one. It had to do with Ra's al Ghul, which was great. And
right.
Ra's al Ghul's daughter, Bane, and then you threw Catwoman in there, Anne Hathaway. I still can't get over how good she made the leather look. I remember looking at the press pictures for the Dark Knight Rises when they came out, and then they had that one of her on the bat cycle, and I was laughing because like the internet was like, "Why is she on the bat cycle? She don't need to be on the bat cycle." And I'm looking, and I'm like, "Damn." I was like, "Oh, cool, Bane."
Well, you're gonna
Catwoman.
like Zoe Kravitz in the new Batman.
Yeah.
Is great too.
Yeah, how was her take on Selena Kyle? Because that
Loved
character
it.
is just, Selena's just. There's been a lot of different takes on her. I mean, Michelle Pfeiffer, did a really good take on her, and then you got Anne Hathaway. This is like the third time we get to see a take on Catwoman.
Yeah, she was excellent. She was excellent. She's beautiful. She's sexy, and in the movie she was a little darker,
Mm-hmm.
And not too crazy, but she seemed more determined in this film. I liked it. I liked it a lot. I liked her a lot. Yeah, I thought they were all great. Colin Farrell as the Penguin, unrecognizable.
Yeah,
and I was in a discussion with a few people, and I said, I don't. Why would they cast him?
Mm-hmm.
Why would they cast Colin Farrell and make him look like a completely different person? Why not find an actor that looks a lot closer to who it is that you want to, want him to look like?
Right.
And I read an article today that said that the makeup, they did the makeup, and when the makeup was presented, it was almost like they decided to go in that direction after they saw the prosthetic. It wasn't something that was planned.
Uh-huh.
The makeup artist just came to Matt Reeves and said, "This is what I'm thinking for the Penguin." And he's like, "Oh my gosh!" He's like, "Can we make that look real? Like it's not a mask?" And he showed it to Colin Farrell, and he liked it a lot. And they twisted his arm because the director didn't want to do it at first. And after they did it, they really liked the way that it came out, so they decided to stick with it. So
nice.
Yeah, I thought that was great. I thought that was very interesting. I thought it was strange, to cast him and then to hide who he is. Because I'm going to tell you right now, when you watch the film, you would never know it was him.
Wow.
Never, by voice or by his eyes or anything. You just wouldn't tell. Some amazing work.
Yeah,
he was good as well.
I heard that Matt Reeves, when he was writing this and he was coming up with it, he didn't have Robert Pattinson in mind. What happened was he watched a movie of Robert Pattinson's, and it's a movie that It's on Netflix right now. I've passed through it a bunch of times, and finally one night I was going to watch it, but I ended up watching something else. But after reading this, he said that he made the decision of casting Robert Patterson as Bruce Wayne Batman after watching Good Times. It's a Good Time. It's a movie
Yeah,
on
yeah.
Netflix. I've seen the previews for it because the story sounds pretty good, but I never did sit down and watch it yet. But now I want to. I was like, what did he see in that? And then when he's seen that, he thought of Robert Patterson, and he continued writing the rest of the movie with him in mind after that. And then
Yeah.
he approached him about playing this character, and
It
it
was a
was
great casting. He was great.
yeah. I'm one movie I'm excited about that's been pushed back, and I wish it would finally come out, which it will. Morbius.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I've been waiting for that for like ever. It's been pushed back 6 times.
Yeah,
And
that always makes me worry about a movie when they do that, and I just
yeah,
have to wonder if there's a lot of reshoots. I know I've read a couple articles about them pushing it back. From what I understood, the last time they pushed it back, it might have had something to do with the success of Spider-Man, and that they wanted to kind of link some Spider-Man stuff in with the film.
right.
Now, again, these are just online articles that are probably more, rumor and speculation than it is fact. But that's what I heard from the last time. Yeah, I look forward to it. I love the character of Morbius. I want to see what Sony does with it. I do like the
Mhm.
Sony films, um, more particularly the Spider-Man films.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the Venom films. I feel like there's some things about the Venom films I would have done differently that I'm not really crazy about.
Right.
But they're entertaining. They're entertaining. And my son and I took him to see both of the films, and we have fun watching them for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
I like the
so,
last
but
one. The Let There Be
yeah,
Carnage. I like that because I like how they played it off with the big, like towards the end was the big payoff of you get to see both these characters go at it at the
yeah,
at each
yeah,
other.
and that's what it is. It's almost like each movie is like an issue of a comic book, and it kind of wraps up at the end with this big fight scene, and I mean, that's a legitimate format, right? Of course, for an
Yeah.
action superhero film like that.
Right.
Um, I think there were just certain things about the film that I wish they had done a little bit differently in Venom,
Hmm.
and one of them is, but I think it's part of it. It's they made Eddie Brock a very comedic, almost split personality. I mean, obviously with Venom talking to him, but
Yeah.
he almost seems a little insane at times.
Right.
Which I could understand sharing a body with a symbiote, but I think there would have been things there that I did a little bit differently. It
Hmm.
seems like there's like a lot of slapstick in that stuff with him,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
breaking stuff over his head and all like that. So, but whatever. I mean, that's the way that's the direction they decided to go in the films. I felt like Venom could be something they did that was really kind of a dark film. Um,
Hmm.
but with that said,
Yeah.
what can I say? That they've been successful or whatever, and I've enjoyed them with my son. But I just hope Sony does a good job with Morbius, and I hope it's not too much. Uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of just this diluted, like you know, let's play on a lot of tropes and just do a lot of dumb CGI and stuff. I hope it's really a cool flick because I
Yeah.
think that I think it can be with Jared Leto. I think it could be a cool flick. It's definitely a cool character.
Hmm.
Um, and I hope that they do a great job with it because I'd love to see a good Morbius on screen for sure.
Oh
I hope it
yeah.
comes out soon.
Yeah, I do too, because I'm looking at this and I've been watching all the trailers and all the stuff for this film. When I seen this back before the pandemic hit 2020, I said to a few people, I said, you're gonna forget about pretty much him being the Joker in the Suicide Squad with this, because this movie will make him when you hear Jared Leto, you're gonna think Morbius, like Robert Downey
Hmm.
Jr. when you think of him, you think of Iron Man, Tony Stark.
Mhm.
This is going to be that role, and I feel he's never had that one role that defined him. You know,
Yeah.
like Michael Keaton, Batman, Beetlejuice. There's two there, but I feel
Sure.
Jared Leto, as long as he's been in doing movies, he's not found that one role that when you hear the name, you think of that character.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this could be that vehicle for him for sure.
I do too. I have
Yeah.
I have a lot of hope for it, you know, because as long as he's been in it, like Lilo Neeson, man. When you think of him, I think of Taken.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I think of Taken, but then also I think back, I'm like, yeah, he trained Obi-Wan and he led the A-Team too.
Right,
So
right.
he has a new one coming out. I've been
Yeah.
seeing. I like
Liam
I
Neeson
like
comes
him.
out with a new movie like every month now.
He pretty much does. He pretty much
Ice
does.
Road Truckers or whatever I was watching the other not Ice Road Truckers. It was Ice something. He was an Ice Road Trucker. It was cool action flick. I love him. I love to see Liam Neeson and stuff.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah.
I like that one movie he did where he was on the train trying to solve trying to figure out what was going on when he was on the train, and they were gonna come on the train and try to kill him.
I don't know if I saw that one.
Yeah, that one was a pretty good. I forget the name of it.
Sounds like a straight to video.
It does, but
He's been doing a lot of those straight to videos lately. But
yeah,
good for him, man. He's working and he's getting some cool action flicks out there.
yeah. Now, I did watch a while back ago. I watched an indie movie, and it's been a long, very long time, Thomas, since I seen a bad independent movie. And yeah, this one, it was just it was bad. It was bad. I went over to my friend invited me and my wife over eat dinner, and he's like, "Hey, want to watch this movie here?" And I was like, "What do you got?" And he's going through his movies there, and he popped on it, and it had WCW Kevin Nash was in it, and he was on the front cover, and it had to do something about the pandemic, and I forget the name of it, COVID destruction or some crazy title, and he's on the front cover, and it's like, it's Kevin Nash. We're like, all right, let's give it a go. Let's watch it. What's the worst that can happen? A lot.
Wow.
He's on the front cover, and it's starring Kevin Nash. He was in 3 scenes in the beginning of the movie, and you didn't see him through the whole rest of the movie.
Yeah.
And then you seen him at the very end. And it had to do with this couple that the husband had to go to this high school and rescue his homeless sister, because this group of people he knew were going into where homeless people were during the pandemic, and they were killing them. So he had to go rescue his sister. And they shot it in a really run down building, almost like a factory, and then part of a gym. And it wasn't that great. We watched the whole movie just to see when's Kevin Nash going to show up, and we're watching it. I mean, the dialogue was dialogue was good at times, but it just, the way it was cut and shot, the fight sequences, I just was not too happy with it. And then at the very end of the movie, you see Kevin Nash, you're like, oh, there he is. But they did say at the end of the movie, they said this was shot basically with nothing. And I was like, wow. I mean, they pretty much threw it together
ahead of time, right?
What's that?
That's like the apology before you watch the movie. Like, you're sorry for what you're about to witness.
Yeah,
I just spent a lot of money on this.
Yeah, it just wasn't that great. I'm like, wow. It's like, I'm wondering. I'm still wondering. And me and my friend were joking. It's like, if we ever go to meet and greet, meet Kevin Nash, one of us is we bet each other. One of us, you got to bring that question up how he got attached.
I would bring it up. I would definitely bring. I would bring a DVD to get signed.
It'd probably be like, no.
One time we met Dee Wallace, famous for E.T. and The Howling, and a bunch of Cujo and a bunch of other films. And we met Dee, and we had done a little research on her, and she had appeared in an indie film called Aliens from Uranus, and we did not let her live that down for a few minutes. We went up and talked to her about it, and I think she honestly did not remember doing the film. You know, it was just something that she had done somewhere along the way. But we had a lot of fun with that one with her, and she was a great sport and a lovely person. But that was fun.
Oh, that's cool. That is cool. I was talking to someone about like when like people that are big now in like with movies and stuff, you sometimes you got to start somewhere. You know, you have to start somewhere. Like Jennifer Aniston, she won't talk about Leprechaun. That was like one of her first movies. She won't talk about it. They've tried to bring it up in the past. She blows it off like it never happened. It's like, come on. Like I heard that, I don't know if you heard this, Susan Sarandon, she's finally talking about Rocky Horror Picture Show. She wouldn't talk about it for years. And she's finally like acknowledging and noticing that how people love that film. And she's slowly, you know, acknowledging it now after all these years. And it's like, wow.
It was a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would acknowledge it too.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Wow. But, man, as always, it is great talking with you and coming on. And
yeah, man, thanks so much for having me on again. It's been great. I thank everybody who's been kind of hanging with us and listening in. And if I could guide anybody to our website, right? It's www.theaterofterror.net. Yeah, awesome. Thanks, man.
You're welcome.
There's Haunted, and you know, we got some news and all that kind of stuff down there, and merchandise that we're selling. Sold out. Hopefully we'll get some stuff in soon again. But check us out on theaterofterror.net, and if you scroll all the way to the bottom here, there's a little subscribe button where we'd love it if you guys could subscribe to the site. We'll send you all the news about what's cooking with Theater of Terror, what we're working on. When we have casting calls, we throw that on there as well. You could, like Everett mentioned, our Facebook page. You could check that out. That'd be awesome. Follow us on there. On Twitter, I think we're Theater Terror. On Instagram, we're Theater Terror, just Theater Terror. And we'd love to take you guys along on the ride with us as we continue to make some fun, interesting, suspenseful, chilling, scary horror movies. So thanks again for having me on, man, so I can promote everything. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem, man. No problem. Because when you put out there, you're just like, hey, I want to go on some podcast and I want to talk about Theater of Terror. I'm like, right here, man. I hit you right up. I'm like, I'm DMing
You're the only
soon. I was like, Tom wants to go on a podcast. Yeah, definitely. You're always welcome to come on here and talk about about anything, man. And I love having you coming on. I love having conversations with you. This is great. At least I didn't have to hit up a PR person like with Jeremiah Kemp. I got to tease him about that. I was like, Mr. Hollywood, now you got a PR person, and I was teasing with
man.
it.
Jeremiah is moving up in the world, and you know, sometimes you got to put a little filter there and make sure, you know, not everybody's like me. I'll do any podcast, you know. but this one is especially the one I wanted to do. No, but Jeremiah is awesome. I just got to work with him recently on another indie project. It's so great to see a guy like him having so much success and not even close to forgetting where he came from, and he's still you know, at least ankle deep in the indie scene. On the low budget end with a bunch of us where we're just out there for the passion and to have fun, and we're still working on those projects together. So I love him, and I wish him all the success. And man, I'm gonna get a PR person real soon, Everett. So you know, count yourself lucky here to have this easy setup that we did, this little Facebook messaging back and forth arrangement.
Just put in with the PR person that when a person named Everett Lee that says I want to be on your want you on my podcast.
Instant in, dude. Instant approval. Don't worry about it. I'll be calling you from Hollywood. I'm looking for a podcast to get on. Everett still got this podcast.
Oh man, this has been great. And
thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, you're welcome. And I do want to thank everyone tuning in tonight here on PodBeam Live. I want to thank everyone that tuned in and listened. And you can follow more of the Everett Lee Show audio podcast right here on.
Hi,
yeah.
just thank you, everybody.
We're good. Yeah. You can follow Everett Lee Show audio podcast right here on Podbeam. And then, of course, on Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Stitcher Radio, and on iTunes. And follow Everett Lee Show over on Facebook, Everett Lee Show anything happens live. Twitter at the Everett Lee, and on Podcast City Network, your top source for independent podcast. And be creative, be yourself. Head over to podcastcity.net to listen to podcasts such as The Everett Lee Show, Final Score, Verbal Shenanigans, Horror Pop After Midnight, The Imaginarium with Scott and Todd, and much, much more over on podcastcity.net. And follow them on Facebook, Podcast City Network, and on Twitter at podcastcitynet. And I'll see you again next time for another episode of The Everett Lee Show.